speaking of high bars, I think we should talk about, or I should talk about, The Substance, a movie that you would never ever think of having a double feature with The Wild Robot. This movie, I knew it was going to be an insane theater experience. It was the opposite of my experience with Megalopolis. Megalopolis, I felt bored and I thought this isn't worthy of seeing in the theater. This movie, when the end credits rolled, I was staring at the screen. I couldn't blink. My mouth was agape. The person next to me turned to me and said, first time, like it was the James Franco Buster Scruggs gif. This movie's only been out for like nationwide for a week. This person next to me had seen the movie twice, and it has one of the most batshit final 25 minutes I've seen in a movie. And the first hour and a half is incredible. It is so good, Ricky Flex. But the last act, a decision is made by this director. And it is a movie that features a lot of body horror. Okay. It's a lot of pent up suspense. It is most definitely a thriller, but it makes a clear decision in the third act that will leave you either loving or hating the final 30 minutes. So I personally, I respected the decision. I didn't love it. I liked it. Right. The movie overall, I thought was incredibly good. I think it has a lot of vibes of like Triangle of Sadness, honestly, and going batshit at the end and leaving the audience kind of a gasp. It's similar type of thing, but also a little bit artsy fartsy, has a clear direction and a clear message being sent for the film. But let me just set up what The Substance is. Ricky Flicks, you know anything about this movie?
I know the synopsis and I've seen the poster, and I'll ask a question after you read the synopsis about it.
So I'm not even going to read the synopsis. I'm just going to tell you what happens to a point. So at the beginning of the movie, you start off with this aerobics instructor that's like a famous TV aerobics instructor. Think like, was it Richard Simmons?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's Demi Moore, about 50-ish years old, and she's on screen. And then after she does her whole thing for about a minute, it then goes to her exiting into the bathroom. Girl's bathroom is locked. She goes to the boys' bathroom, locks the door, right? Make sure no one can see her in the stall. And in comes the head of a studio, played by Dennis Quaid. Super over the top performance from Dennis Quaid. And he's on the phone and he's like, we got to get rid of like Demi Moore's character, this Elizabeth Sparkle. We need someone young and new. And then eventually exits the bathroom. They have the exit meeting. She gets fired. Ageism, huge part of the story here. Demi Moore driving home gets absolutely T-boned by a car, starts spiraling out of control, and then she goes to the hospital. In the hospital, right, the doctor checks her out. She's pristine. She's fine somehow. But a nurse starts to feel her spine, and then he goes, hey, you are a great candidate. That's it. Gives her back her jacket. Inside the jacket is this flash drive, and then you find out that this person gives her information for this new drug. It's called The Substance, hence the title of the movie. And then she finds out this drug has an ability to de-age. She can become a younger, newer version of herself, and then the movie takes off. That's like all the first 20 minutes. Okay? That's a lot, Ricky Flex.
Wow.
I know. It is but the thing is, the last thing I'll give before you go see the movie, because it has twists and turns you definitely don't expect. The drug, you can only be an older version of yourself for 7 days, and then you turn into the younger version after another 7, and it goes on and off. Absolutely insane concept for a movie. It's like it does very much like a body horror type of thing. It has a bunch of gross out type of scenes, but also it sends this message about ageism. It says like unfair beauty standards for women in entertainment. Dennis Quaid is played over the top, like I said before, head of a studio, disgusting creature of a man running a studio. But also the setting of it's hyper real. It's not exactly like grounded in reality. It has references to things that happen in our world and pop culture, but like one of the characters doesn't even have a last name, right? And like some of the things that are happening are beyond belief. You have to suspend belief. But because of that, it makes the third act more you understand why a decision's made in the third act. And I can't go into too much because holy shit, it blew my mind. But overall, the direction of this thing, beautiful. It was both beautiful and disgusting, repulsive at the same time. That's the type of movies that I like to see. So this director, and I didn't know this movie got nominated, excuse me, it won at Cannes for best screenplay. You know? And I was
Yeah, this is going to be an awards push here.
Oh, yeah. Demi Moore, by the way, might get an acting nomination. She's unbelievable in this movie, Ricky Flex. So
it seems like she's at that stage in her career where she's never been nominated before. This is G.I. Jane, this is Ghost, and Indecent Proposal. And she's like hasn't done a lot recently. She's 61. This I could totally see her getting like, oh, the late in your career, you got to get recognized for this for your career and your contributions to Hollywood. And this is a great performance. I'm hearing, yes, like you should get nominated, especially like ageism and like what you're talking about here, like the concept of this movie. This seems like, yeah, this is a Demi Moore nomination. Write it in right now. That's what it seems like to me.
There were points during the performance where I was like, damn, that's like something you would see as a clip during the Oscars. There is one scene where she is trying to deal with, like, she's trying to go on a date. She's someone who doesn't go out a lot, you know? And there's a scene where she's putting on makeup. She's about to leave and go on the date. And then she goes back and puts on more makeup. And she's thinking about how this other version of her looks. And she wants to be as beautiful as possible. And then eventually she is smearing makeup on her face. She's looking at a mirror. It's something you see like at the Oscars. It was like the most, I think, impactful scene of the movie. And it's a movie that's full of, like I said, body horror and like repulsive, gross out scenes. And that scene, it's just like, I get the message here. A little bit over the top with like the message sent, especially by what happens in the final 30 minutes of the movie. But it goes batshit. But that scene, I was like, I could see Demi Moore nominated for this movie. It just makes sense with that type of moment. It felt like intentional, you know?
Dude, like it makes sense, right? And I kind of, that when you were going through that, I'm like, oh, that reminds me of like May, December last year with Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore. That reminds me of Natalie Portman in Black Swan. Like it does have that kind of feel to it, like ageism, you know, like it does have that kind of theme that for a performance, I don't know if the movie itself, with being repulsive, as you're saying, will get nominated for Best Picture or whatnot, but maybe it sounds like the Demi Moore, that's where this movie will get at least considered or nominated or recognized at the Oscars.
Yeah, the Coralie Fargett, I think, is the name of the director here. Also the writer. I reserve the right to pronounce the name differently the next time. And once I hear it in an interview, then I will definitely say it correctly. But Coralie Fargett wrote it, directed it, and goes balls to the wall, like makes hard decision at the end of this movie. He could have ended this movie, or she. I think it's a he. I'll double check.
Coralie?
It is a he. So he definitely executes his vision. He could have ended it 30 minutes earlier, but the movie has to have a certain setting at the end. So that's why I'm like, we have to get to that setting. You could have cut the movie at a very high tension moment, violent moment, and then cut. But instead, the movie goes on for 30 more minutes. And I agree with the decision to have it end somewhere else. You had to keep pushing because everything was building up to this one event. So it needed to have the extra 30 minutes. Whether you liked what he did in that 30-minute stretch to get to that one moment, I get it. You might be like, that's a little bit sketchy, or that really turned me off, or I am just repulsed by what I'm seeing. It really is to that level. I've never seen a movie this insane of the last 30 minutes. I swear to God. Like, I don't remember the last time I had an experience like this in a movie theater. So like what you're talking about and how heartwarming and emotional the Wild Robot is, like I was just in a puddle. Like, excuse me, not a puddle. I was just flabbergasted by what I saw.
Got it. Yeah, no, dude, so I've been seeing a lot of things online about this movie. This is getting a lot of traction online, and it's because I've heard how disgusting this is.
But it's also beautiful.
This poster's disgusting. Like looking at it, I don't recommend anyone Googling this poster. It's freaking, I'm assuming like it's a woman, Demi Moore's character, like with her spine stitched up, and it looks disgusting. I freaking already hate it. I'm like quimmering in my chair right now. So I will see this. I love throwers. I heard it's more horror. by the way. So it's interesting you describe it as a thriller. But yeah, man, I'm all in. I have two questions, or two. I have one comment, one question. My comment is Dennis Quaid character. You're saying this is his like executive,
Yep.
disgusting, whatever. His name's Harvey in this movie. Is this supposed to be Harvey Weinstein?
In a way, I think that's super intentional that his name is Harvey. 100%. He is a guy who is looking for sexy young women to star in shows, and he is someone that is literally, there's a scene right at the beginning when he is firing Demi Moore's character. He's like eating like crawfish or shrimp, and he's like,
Ah,
they're zooming in on his teeth. It's yellow. He smokes a lot. They're making him as repulsive as possible. And it sends the message like, this guy's putting unfair beauty standards on women, but like holds none for himself, and it definitely sends the message loud and clear by the end of this movie.
it's so weird. Dennis Quaid like playing that role. Like he just played Ronald Reagan. He was in the Kurt Warner movie, which is again like more like a focus on like religious, like Kurt Warner's very religious family man. Like that movie, very humble. And like those type of movies, that dog movie, like him just to play this type of role just seems so weird to me. Like this is Dennis Quaid, like America's dad, kind of.
Yeah, and his performance makes it's like this is on Earth and it's in the world that we live in, but it's heightened, it's hyper, it's like a fog of the world, like 100%. That character is not like a real person, but it's someone that reminds you of somebody, like a Harvey Weinstein. I did want to talk about one other performer here. I didn't want to talk about this person so much because I don't want to tell you about this character. It's Margaret
Okay,
Qualley.
I was gonna ask a question, I think, about this person.
So I'm not going to talk about her performance too much because I don't want to tell you much. I want you to see it for yourself. But Margaret Qualley is someone that I think should be mentioned alongside the best young movie stars. She just doesn't do anything that's splashy enough that in terms of a lot of people see it. She's not in like IP stuff. She's not a superhero, but she doesn't get mentioned in movies that are, or excuse me, a group that's like the Chalamet, the Sydney Sweeney, the Jacob Elordi, the Zendaya, and the Florence Pugh. I think it's just she's not seen enough, but she's making choices that are interesting. She's working with directors that are constantly seen at festivals like Cannes and Venice. She is not willing to like kind of bow down to like taking the paycheck yet. So I respect her, and she also has like a very unique, beautiful look to her that is perfect for this movie. She was great in it. Demi Moore's the best performance, but Margaret Qualley also great, great, great.
Dude, I've been saying Margaret Qualley, the similar sentiment as you. I love Margaret Qualley. I think she's amazing. I love her choices working with Yorgos. She has that weird, like weird sense about her. That quirkiness a little bit.
Something with her teeth and her mouth. Like it's not a classic movie star look. She's not like perfect.
Right, and like she did a Coen's Brothers movie earlier this year, Drive Away Dolls, which again, like, not everyone's cup of tea, but again, Coen's brother movie, you could totally see her in a Coen's brother movie going for another one going forward. But dude, like she came on the scene Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Tarantino, and that was also a weird movie. She has freaking armpit hair, and she's great in that. And now, like her career, she's making some right choices, some interesting choices. I think the correct ones, but she hasn't made that like I'm here moment, right? And someone also Once Upon a Time in Hollywood who is about to have the I'm here moment, who I think is in the same regard as Margaret Qualley, as in like, has made some interesting choices, but hasn't had that moment. But again, I'm about to say her name, Mikey Madison, and she's going to be starring in Anora. She will get probably nominated for Best Actress, and she's probably the favorite to win right now. That's another one where like after Anora comes out, she's gonna make that next step. Like I am one of the best young actresses in Hollywood. Margaret Qualley just needs that Anora. She needs that like one moment movie to be like, I'm here. I belong in the same retrospect as the other great young actresses in Hollywood. So it seems like, again, Mikey Madison I bring up just because, again, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, similar area right now, but about to make that jump. Margaret Qualley, I could see having that same jump. It just depends on the role.
Yeah, I mean, she's worked with Yorgos twice already. She did Kinds of Kindness earlier this year. She was in Poor Things as like the quote unquote replacement for Emma Stone's character back home with Willem Dafoe. Sanctuary is a buzz type of movie, but critically didn't do that great, but definitely had people talking. She's picking movies where it's like bold things are happening in the movie and people are talking about it, but it's not a broad enough audience. And I
Right.
feel like this could be the breakthrough. And maybe she just needs like something that's gonna stick, like this movie critically, and then it will be a great word of mouth movie. Because The Substance, I think, is a great word of mouth movie that's really gonna pass. Margaret Qualley, you know who her mom is?
No,
Andy McDowell from Groundhog Day,
I could see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
who
But
also she's like naturally beautiful too. You know, it's just like I see it.
but with Margaret Qualley, like this movie, like yeah, I think it's definitely a word of mouth movie. Like I'm gonna go see it. Other people are like online. It's a big online movie, you know, and it's a big if you're a cinephile, you have to see it, you know, things like that. But for Margaret Qualley, like she's got to be in something that's like, you know, more general, I guess. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like not as repulsive, or like it's more intriguing to a wider audience. Like a Yorgos movie, you're not gonna get a wide audience. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to like, get something that's kind of like critically high, to like a Yorgos, but also widely seen, you know, or can be widely seen. Not something where freaking Yorgos Lanthimos prostitutes left and right, like a poor things.
Yeah, I agree. And like this movie, like she has a lot of screen time, and so does Demi Moore. You know, and then Dennis Quaid is thrown in every once in a while, but everyone else is just like they're like, what's the thing with video games? The non-player, what's it called?
A non-player tokens or
Non-player character, like not like it's just not a real.
oh
They're just heads. They're just no
NPC.
one else is relevant.
Yeah, like yeah, I'm trying to think. Free guy. What do they call them? NPCs or something?
Yeah, that's it.
Piece.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
everyone else is the NPC except for like these two who are like loners, and they have this big whatever. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. But I didn't give away too much from that beginning, did I?
No, it's a good setup.
Okay, because like that's just the first 20, and then I'll leave it at that. I want to make sure that you are going into this and you're like, what the fuck am I watching right now? Because this movie, you are just energized and you are totally dialed in from the get-go. And it looks beautiful. Also because Demi Moore is so spectacularly beautiful for someone that's 50 years old. And it makes the movie it's all the more like tragic, you know, with the idea of like this person is not beautiful enough to stay in this industry to have this job, you know. And then what happens in like throughout the movie, the message is sent clear. But she looks astounding in the first part of this movie. It really is like take your breath away, beautiful.
Yeah, and again, like she's 61. She's kind again like striptease, like
God,
a
she's
lot of her career.
61, dude.
Dude, I know. I googled Demi Moore in the first picture. I was like, wow, she looks incredible.
Long hair Demi Moore, best Demi
It's
Moore.
like not incredible for her age, just like incredibly, like incredible. Like stop there. Like she looks amazing. But no, crap. What was I was about to say something. I forget. But no scores. Like what do you? I by the way, I'm changing my score to Wild Robot to a 90. I want that on the record. 90.
Okay, this is an 88 for me. And the third act, the decision that is made will either like make the experience and like say like, oh my god, this is a masterpiece, or it's a decision where you're like, this could have been a masterpiece, but it's ruined by the third act. It's that bold of a decision that the director makes. I think I'm kind of splitting hairs a little bit. I liked where we ended up, how we got there. A little bit sketchy. 88 though, or else if man, it would have been like 90 something. But like this is awesome movie. I will watch it again. I do want to see it again. The person next to me was just like, I had to see it again. She was with her like boyfriend slash husband. It was his time seeing it again too. Like they went back. They went back. So like,
Together.
if you want to,
Insane.
when you go see it, just say, let me know. I will go to the theaters to go see this with you.
Oh boy. All right.
I won't say anything. It'll be the opposite of Megalopolis. Like I will say nothing, and I'll just be like, I'll watch you watch the movie. I'll just like be literally watching your face, sitting square to you as you sit square to the movie to see your reactions.
Dude, this is like a like sit in my like squirm in my chair, like holding myself. Like these movies, like cringe a little bit. Like
Dude,
dude, I
I
hate
was
these movies.
squirming nonstop. Right, I had my shirt over my nose like I always do. You know,
Oh god.
I was just like, this is a lot. It's a lot.